LiberalViewer presents.
So the health reform bill recently passed by the U.S. Senate has a lot of flaws, but fiscal irresponsibility is not one of them because, unlike the Medicare prescription drug plan George W. Bush and the Republican Congress passed without paying for it, this time President Obama and the Democrats have included over $1 trillion in deficit reduction in the bill, as President Obama explained during a press event last week on government efficiency, as you can see in this clip.
The Congressional Budget Office now reports that this bill will reduce our deficit by $132 billion over the first decade and by as much as $1.3 trillion in the decade after that. So I just want to be clear, for all those who are continually carping about how this is somehow a big spending government bill, this cuts our deficit by $132 billion the first 10 years and by over $1 trillion in the second. That argument that opponents are making against this bill does not hold water.
But even though President Obama specifically pointed out there that the big spending criticism doesn't hold water, when Fox News reported on that press event and the expected passage of the health reform bill, the introduction from Fox News anchor Bill Hemmer on the supposed straight news program America's Newsroom failed to mention the over $1 trillion in deficit reduction, choosing a different clip of President Obama over a chyron questioning the cost of health reform and only mentioning the view of critics, as you can see here.
Critics of that $871 billion health care measure say it's a budget buster that leaves taxpayers in America on the hook for years to come. President Obama, meanwhile, said this yesterday about government spending today.
In the long run, we can't continue to spend as if deficits don't have consequences, as if waste doesn't matter, as if the hard-earned tax dollars of the American people can be treated like monopoly money. That's what we've seen time and time again.
And not only did Fox News omit the clip of Obama describing the over $1 trillion in deficit reduction, which Bill Hemmer never mentioned in his introduction, but the over $1 trillion in deficit reduction was never mentioned anywhere in the entire segment, which you can find at tinyurl.com/no-trillion, which immediately turned to an interview with Republican Senator Judd Gregg, who made the exact argument President Obama had said didn't hold water, as you can see in this clip.
Monopoly money. Senator Judd Gregg, New Hampshire, joins us live. He's the ranking Republican member of the Senate Budget Committee. Senator, good morning to you, and thanks for coming back on our program. Is there any monopoly money left in that town?
No, there isn't. It would be nice if we were concerned about the short run, too, because basically within the next 24 hours or 48 hours, we're about to spend $2.3 trillion we don't have.
But again, spending money we don't have is what the Republicans did when they controlled the presidency and the Congress, and you would think that if Fox News anchor Bill Hemmer were an actual journalist, he would have challenged the Republican senator somewhere in the interview with the over $1 trillion in deficit reduction in the Senate health reform bill, but of course he never did, even when Senator Gregg specifically mentioned debt reduction, which resulted in the softball question you can see here.
We're headed towards a situation where we're not even going to be able to afford to pay the debt that we've run up as a nation, and we're headed towards some serious times, fiscal times
Senator,
ahead.
When you're talking with your colleagues, whether they're Republicans or Democrats, do they talk about this?
Not enough. Not enough. I mean, there's a little bit of lip service given, like the president just did, but when the issues get down to whether or not to spend the money or to reduce the debt, the spending always seems to take priority.
And there it is again, a perfect opportunity for an actual journalist to ask the Republican senator about the over $1 trillion in deficit reduction in the health reform bill. But again, the Fox News anchor never did, as you can see again in the entire segment at tinyurl.com/no-trillion, where you'll see Fox News anchor Bill Hemmer ask multiple other softball questions of Senator Gregg, most comically probably the one where he mispronounced the word fiscally that you can see here.
President Obama said yesterday the government must be far more physically responsible. Who's leading that parade?
Well, I'm hopeful, but not necessarily assured or in any way confident that the Congress is going to wake up here and realize that what we're doing to our kids and the next generation is not correct. I mean, no generation should pass on to another generation, a country that's weaker and is got the type of debt that we're about to pass on to our kids.
What is that, the third time the Fox News interviewer let his Republican guest get away with talking about the debt without ever mentioning the over $1 trillion in deficit reduction in the Senate health reform bill? And after omitting that important information over and over again, Bill Hemmer then actually reveals the emotional response that Fox News is trying to elicit in a conclusion that only puts the icing on the cake of the whole misleading exercise that you can see here.
I tell you, Senator, for those who are worried about the debt and the deficit, you're not making me feel much better. I know you're only one man.
I think people need to be. I think people need to be worried about this, and feeling better is probably not an appropriate emotional response to this. The emotional response should be, hey, Congress, get your act in order, and let's stop spending money we don't have, and let's stop putting our kids in debt.
Incredible, and I bet that Fox News story did leave viewers with the erroneous impression that this health care bill would add to the debt, because nowhere in the entire health care countdown story, with Senator Judd Gregg mentioning the deficit and the debt over and over again, did Fox News ever let its viewers know about the over $1 trillion in deficit reduction in the Senate bill. And given that someone at Fox News had to select that introductory clip from the Obama event at which the president multiply mentioned the over $1 trillion in deficit reduction in the Senate bill, the whole story seems deliberately misleading, or is at least worthy, I think, of joining the over 100 other examples of Fox News bias on my Fox News bias playlist, but I want to know what you think. Should that supposed news story and interview questioning the cost of the Senate health reform bill also have informed Fox News viewers about the over $1 trillion of deficit reduction in the bill? And on the bigger question of the trade-offs involved in getting the Senate bill, is it worth giving up single-payer, the public option, and even a Medicare buy-in for those over 55 to get 30 million more Americans insured, an end to pre-existing condition exclusions and the other abuses prohibited by the Patient Bill of Rights, and, of course, over $1 trillion of deficit reduction?
YouTube, you decide.